Part 18. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 171. Today, Momo Takaishi's performance was not competitive in front of her at all, and her threat level was not even as high as Rina Oda's. It seems that the title of fiancé is useless, and Aoda doesn't like her at all. Ryo Hosokawa put down her phone. She just sent today's briefing to Rina Oda. As a person who is familiar with detective suspense, she deliberately downplayed her own existence and emphasized the existence of Momo Takaishi in order to stimulate Rina Oda and maintain this covenant. After all, the existence of this covenant is more beneficial to her, so it is worth her to do some inconspicuous little actions for this. The first thing she does when she wakes up in the morning is to open her phone to see if Rina Oda has any news, but Rina Oda usually only sends one sentence, either nothing today, or Momo Takaishi did not show up. She knows that it's not just her who is playing tricks, but Rina Oda is the same, but everyone is within the rules, and it's not easy to blame each other. But what makes her better than Rina is that she will not indulge in the existing achievements, and will not think that everything will be fine if they live together. But in fact, she misunderstood Oda Reina. Oda Reina also wanted to make progress, but her innate conditions did not allow it. She had no chance, not that she was not ambitious. She knew that she could be naughty, but she could not make trouble unreasonably, otherwise she would kill herself. Besides, she had a mother watching her. Lin Zion didn't know what the two of them thought. What he wanted to know now was what exactly Takaishi Shuichiro was planning. The appearance of Takaishi Momoji today meant that the old guy had not given up. He was planning something. Lin Zion would not sit and wait for death. He had already asked Chihiro to follow Takaishi Momoji home. Tomorrow he would know what was going on. To be honest, he was a little curious about why Takaishi Shuichiro did this even though he knew he was in such danger. The value of a businessman is profit. How much profit would allow him to do such a thing? Ignoring his family, friends, and even his accumulated wealth, he obviously should have something to ask him, but he didn't say it. It's not just Takaishi Shuichiro who is suspicious. Lin Zion thinks Yukino Takemi is also suspicious, but if he doesn't say it, Lin Zion can't do anything about him because he is his father's clue. He can't be touched without a legitimate reason. No. Lin Zion seemed to suddenly think of something, his hair stood on end, his aura exploded, the air in the room was violently disturbed, and then it quickly calmed down. He just searched the house because Chihiro might have a problem, and he had to make sure that there was no problem in his own family before he could feel at ease. Chihiro should have known that time, why didn't she tell me? Lin Zion remembered that when he left Takaishi's house before, it was because of his own uneasiness that he left Chihiro there. Logically, she should know that Takaishi Shuichiro arranged Takaishi Momo, but she didn't tell him when she came back. Although this is just a possibility, Lin Zion has to be on guard. As for the truth, you'll know when she comes back. No one can betray him, not even ghosts. It was late at night when Shigeki Chihiro came back. Master, Chihiro found Takaishi Shuichiro. Shigeki Chihiro told Lin Zion excitedly as soon as she came back, not noticing Lin Zion's changes at all. Don't worry about that, let me ask you a question first. What? Shigeki Chihiro was stunned for a moment, then noticed that Lin Zion was a little abnormal, and hurriedly said, Master, please ask. Did you know in advance that Takaishi Shuichiro arranged Takaishi Momokai to be my fiancé? Lin Zion's tone was calm, without any questioning. I know Shigeki Chihiro didn't know why Lin Zion asked this. Then why didn't you tell me? He admitted it directly, without him even having to look at it. Isn't this the agreement between the master and him? Shigeki Chihiro said tremblingly. I'm sure of that. You've been with me for so long, don't you know what kind of person I am? And weren't you there at the time? I left after I was done, so why would I agree with them? Lin Zion was really convinced. You believed that? Did you have a brain injury last time? No, she didn't have a brain to begin with. Chihiro thought that the master and him agreed when I left. Chihiro explained aggrievedly. Oh, there was such a thing. Lin Ziyan suddenly slapped his forehead. Let me take a look first. Lin Ziyan reached out to Zongmu. Chihiro. If you don't take a look yourself, you're still worried. It's right to be cautious. Yes, Master Zongmu. Chihiro also reached out to Lin Ziyan. Although she felt uncomfortable being suspected by Lin Ziyan, she was willing to prove herself. After a long time, Lin Ziyan let go of her hand and finally breathed a sigh of relief. If Chihiro really had a problem, it would be a headache for him to deal with it. It's best if nothing happened now. I apologize to you. I wrongly blamed you. You have to admit your mistakes. There's nothing shameful about it. No, Shigeki. Chihiro waved her hands frantically. This is Chihiro's fault. I didn't complete what the master asked me to do. In Chihiro's opinion, Lin Ziyan didn't need to do this at all. Not to mention that she did something wrong. Even if she didn't do anything wrong, Lin Ziyan, as a master, didn't need to do this at all, because she knew that Lin Ziyan had the ability to produce a person like her, and she was afraid that she would be replaced. But Lin Ziyan treated her as a normal person, whether it was the greeting every morning or the chat when the two were alone, which made her feel happier than most people. Although she often gave him some small tasks, and I won't talk about how boring those tasks were, she was still very happy if she could help Lin Ziyan. Because these small tasks let her know that Lin Ziyan needed her, which made her feel at ease. Although Lin Ziyan treated her as an ordinary person, she knew that the meaning of the existence of tools was demand. When there was no such demand, Lin Ziyan would not need her. The reason why she ate so many unprocessed things, whether good or bad, was because she urgently needed a stronger power to maintain her role in Lin Ziyan. Unfortunately, something went wrong. After all, it was her first time to be a ghost, she had no experience, and she troubled Lin Ziyan again. She was actually very panicked at the time. She was very afraid that Lin Ziyan would abandon her. It was normal to abandon a broken tool. But Lin Ziyan not only repaired her, but also gave her a stomach to help her update it. When she was alive, she only felt that sense of security in Gongzong Liwi, but now it is even stronger. So compared to hunting outside, she prefers to watch Lin Ziyan sleep by the bed, feeling the overflowing energy and feeling the warmth. She still remembered the promise made to Lin Ziyan that she could touch him once she had a physical form. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 172. Let's not talk about it for now. Did you say you found Shuichiro Takaishi? Lin Ziyan brought the topic back. Although he had already seen it just now, he still asked again as a formality. Yes, he is now in the ancestral home of the Jasei family. I also know the specific address. Chihiro Shigeki quickly responded. Okay, I'll go take a look tomorrow. Now that we know where Shuichiro Takaishi is, it will be easier to handle. Lin Ziyan left early the next morning. Oda Reina hadn't gotten up yet at that time, only Michiko was there. I have to go out for something. I don't know when I will be back. You two can just be careful at home these days. If you need anything, call me. Lin Ziyan put on his shoes and said to Michiko behind him, Xiaobai, I've told it, if you open those cans, it will eat it, and don't touch it, it's been a little irritable these days. Yes, Kingtian-kun, where are you going in such a hurry? Why don't you have breakfast before leaving? Michiko Oda was a little anxious. She was just about to make breakfast, and Lin Ziyan could eat it in 2 minutes. I will solve this. I'm leaving first. Lin Ziyan is not really in a hurry, but he spent the whole night guessing last night and couldn't figure out what Shuichiro Jasei wanted to do, so he came so early out of curiosity. Get up. Hey. Wait a minute, Michiko Oda shouted and turned back to the kitchen, then hurried out with a glass of milk. Let's drink a glass of milk first. Lin Ziyan felt her heavy care with every movement. We are talking about milk, don't think about it. These breasts belong to Reina, right? Later they said I stole her breasts. Lin Ziyan really wasn't complaining for no reason. Odarina's milk was a controlled product. She drank it herself and didn't let others drink it. Why did she drink it when he was taller than her? The last time he drank a bottle, she said it. For 3 days. Since that time, she would count them every day, and if anything was missing, it would be his fault. Because this Lin Ziyan laughed at her a lot. Don't worry about her. King Tian-kun bought these. Why can't you drink it? Michiko Oda pushed the milk in her hand to Lin Ziyan's hand, rolled her eyes and said, it's all you who spoils her. Lin Ziyan was so charming that he was caught off guard and had no choice but to take the milk and drink it in one go. Okay, I can't get used to her these days. I'll take care of her slowly. Lin Ziyan put down the cup and went out. Be careful on the road, Michiko Oda shouted, and then Lin Ziyan waved and disappeared around the corner. The ancestral home of the Takaishi family is also in Tokyo, specifically in Ome City. It is neither far nor close. For example, Shuichiro Takaishi always takes a special car. How can it not be close? Lin Ziyan takes a car and has 2 legs. You can't get there within 2 or 3 hours. Moreover, the ancestral home of the Jasei family is not in the urban area, which is troublesome just thinking about it. Mom, where is Oni-chan? Odarina walked down and asked after walking around on the first floor. King Tian-kun went out very early. He said he had something to do and would go out for a few days. Then did he say where he was going? No. Michiko Oda shook her head. She wouldn't ask in detail unless Lin Ziyan told her. When Odarina got up just now, she saw that the door of Lin Ziyan's room was open and no one was there. She ran down to look for someone without even washing her face, but now no one was there and she didn't know where she was going. There was no other way, so Odarina had no choice but to tell Ryo Hosokawa, hoping she would know something. Oni-chan is gone, I don't know where she went. Odarina didn't know what to say, so she just said it more vaguely. I know, Aida-san just told me that he was going away for a few days and asked me to take care of you. Hosokawa Ryo got up earlier than Odarina because she had to make breakfast and lunch, unlike Rina who had someone to serve her. And just now, Lin Ziyan sent her a message asking her to help take a look at Lene. Now it seems that she knew that Lin Ziyan was gone earlier than Odarina. I don't want you to take care of me. Odarina didn't expect Hosokawa Ryo to know before she did. That is, Lin Ziyan told Hosokawa Ryo that he was leaving, but did not tell her. What is this? After waiting for a long time, Lin Ziyan arrived at Kingmei City, where the ancestral home of the Gaoshi family is located, but he still had to go a little deeper. Fortunately, there was a main road in the village where the Gaoshi family was located. The driver said that the Gaoshi family paid for the repair, and the driver said it on the way. We talked a lot about the Gaoshi family's work in building bridges and roads. It seems that the Gaoshi family is quite famous in the local area. When they arrived at the place, Lin Ziyan got off the car. Although this is called a village, its prosperity is better than that of an ordinary town. As soon as Lin Ziyan entered the village, he saw the ancestral home of the Gaoshi family. It was at the end of the road and occupied a large area. The place had been decided and the people had been decided. Lin Ziyan walked to the door unhurriedly and knocked on the door. Soon an ant came out. Seeing Lin Ziyan's careless look, she thought she was a tourist and said to him, "This is a private residence and cannot be visited. I'm looking for Shuichiro Takaishi. He should be here, right?" Lin Ziyan's speech was very secular and no honorifics were used. "Who are you?" Auntie looked at Lin Ziyan suspiciously. "Just tell him Kong Mu-ching-tian is here." Lin Ziyan waved his hand towards her, not polite at all. "Then wait a moment, I'll go and report." The ant was frightened by Lin Ziyan's calm demeanor. She has worked here for so many years and has never seen anyone like Lin Zion. You know, this is the Gaoshi family ancestral home. Soon, the aunt came out and took him inside. Lin Zion went in and saw that the pavilions and towers were all ready, most of which were in ancient style. There was also a stream of running water, and koi as thick as arms swam around. The strangest thing was that Lin Zion didn't see even a single electric wire here. It really was an imitation of an ancient building. Takaishi Shuichiro didn't hide from him, and waited for him in the reception hall. "You're here." Takaishi Shuichiro seemed to have expected Lin Zion to come, and was not surprised at his appearance at all. "Didn't you ask me to come?" Lin Zion seemed to know this would happen, and he found a place and sat down casually. "Yes, I asked you to come, but you came too early, and I didn't prepare anything to receive you." "No need to receive you, I may not be able to bear it." Lin Zion curled his lips. "Let's talk about the purpose of you asking me to come. This is still necessary. We can't let others think that my Takaishi family is not hospitality." Takaishi Shuichiro clapped his hands and walked in alone with tea sets. Lin Zion saw that the person who came was Takaishi Mai, who was wearing a formal kimono. The shoulders of the kimono were black with pink cherry blossoms printed on them, and then the color gradually became lighter, and it was already white at the waist. Today, Takaishi Mai's hair was not let down, but tied up, and her facial makeup was different from before, with light makeup. "How many people are watching? Do you want to resume 2 updates? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 173. You rich people like to do these fancy things. Lin Zion watched Mai Takaishi sitting between the two of them and performing the tea ceremony. Lin Zion described her as smooth and graceful, and she must have learned these things systematically. But Lin Zion had said before that doing this would not make the tea taste better. It was just a performance, and it was meaningless to him as a pragmatist. "Sir, you are not from our side and you may not appreciate these." Takaishi Shuichiro waved his hand to remove Mai Takaishi and took over the tea set himself. "Don't delay, just say what you want to say. I will naturally tell you all the reasons, but the time is not right now. The opportunity is created. Why don't you tell me why I should help you?" Lin Zion came here just to satisfy his curiosity. Whether he helps him or not depends on what he can come up with. "I'm ready, and the reward will definitely satisfy you," Takaishi Shuichiro said confidently, as if he had Lin Zion in his hands. "Oh, I'd like to see what it is." His words successfully attracted Lin Zion's attention. "I know more about this world than that kid Yukino Takemi." Takaishi Shuichiro put the tea in front of Lin Zion, and then slowly said, "The ancestor of our family is an onmyoji, but he has fallen into decline. Now I am the only old man in the whole family who knows about it." "Then what?" Lin Zion took a sip of the tea. In his opinion, these are meaningless. There are so many people in this world who know these things. The ancestors will naturally leave a legacy, but we, the descendants, are unfilial. No one can pass the trials left by the ancestors, and the legacy cannot be obtained. This caused a gap in the family inheritance, and finally it was simply lost. Do you want me to help you get the legacy back? What's in it for me? Yes, and no, to be precise, I have sold the legacy." Lin Zion was speechless when he said this. "No wonder you said that you are an unfilial descendant. It turns out that this is the case. So what do you want to do?" "It's not really selling it. I made an agreement with them that we don't want anything they get from it, but the cultivation method left by our ancestors. So they didn't keep their promise." Not really. Lin Zion's answer didn't make Takaishi Shuichiro angry. They only gave a part of it, and erased the beginning and the end, saying they didn't get it. In the end, they paid a sum of money, saying it was compensation. How can we mortals fight against them? In the end, the matter was left unresolved. So what do you want to do? Help us find the cultivation method of our ancestors. Takahashi Shuichiro looked at Lin Ziyan with hope. In fact, it was difficult for him to do it at that time. Instead of guarding a treasure that he couldn't get, who could stand it? It would be better to give it up and get the most important thing. So he gave the watermelon away under great pressure at that time. He originally thought that they would leave some watermelon seeds after eating it, and watermelons would grow with seeds in the future. Who knew that others even ate the watermelon seeds, so he left some sesame seeds for him as compensation. He couldn't refuse the situation at that time. Otherwise, he would not even have sesame seeds. If they didn't give you anything and just walked away, what would you do? Call the police? Fortunately, Takahashi Shuichiro is also a talent. He relied on that money to get to this situation. He had given up and remembered this matter after seeing Lin Ziyan. In order to make up for his mistakes in the past, he wanted to leave something for future generations and complete his regrets in the past. As for what he said about giving all his wealth to Lin Ziyan, it was true. After so many years of struggling in the business world, he knew that there were many places to get money, but this opportunity only came once. If you miss it, it will really be gone. He will take this regret to the grave. Takahashi Shuichiro hated the group of people who deceived him more than anyone else, but the difference between the two was too big. He knew that power was useless in the eyes of those people, so he didn't provoke them even after he made a fortune, and he knew that Lin Ziyan would not go to trouble those people for him. I thought you would let me kill those people. Lin Ziyan said this without any burden. After all, they are people in the circle, so they don't have to care about ordinary people. It's normal for a few people to die in that case. Sir, just enter the trial land again. We still don't charge for other things. Just practice the method. Gao Shixiulang knew that Lin Ziyan was joking, and told him about the mission. Didn't you say that those people had been there once? What else could be left? Even if there was something left, it wouldn't be a good thing. As far as I know, they didn't go deep into it. It seemed that they were blocked by something and finally retreated back. Gao Shixiulang recalled, 6 people went in at that time, and only 4 escaped. No wonder they didn't give it to you. Lin Ziyan smiled. People have lost a lot of money and you are still thinking about it. How can they not be annoyed? It's good to give money. I reminded them a long time ago that it's their own problem. Well, it's not that easy for you to go and die. How can I do it if 6 people can't beat me? Lin Ziyan evaded. What do you want, sir? Gao Shixiulang knew it was time to talk about benefits. He learned from Xue Wuhai that if he didn't feed Lin Ziyan, he wouldn't be able to work. That place is in the back mountain, right? How do you know? I figured it out. Lin Ziyan knew a little bit about Feng Shui, and he had not been idle all the way here. Now after listening to Takahashi Shuichiro's words, only the back mountain could possibly hold those things. After all, Japan believed in this back then. Now that I know everything, why should I talk to you? Can't I just go find it myself? This is indeed the truth. I have no more stakes, so we can only bet on your character. Takahashi Shuichiro said with a wry smile, and then added, you can take everything I have. I am not interested in anything you have. Show me the remaining cultivation methods first. Lin Ziyan acted very casually, as if he had no interest in this at all. Takahashi Shuichiro took out a yellowed thread-bound book as if he had been prepared. There were only 3 pages, and there were traces of tearing on it, as if it was torn off in a fight. Lin Ziyan opened it and frowned slightly. The whole page was filled with traditional Chinese characters. This is the style of the Southern School? Although Lin Ziyan's heart was surging. But he didn't show it on the surface, and Takahashi Shuichiro couldn't tell what he was thinking. Domestic practitioners are roughly divided into 2 schools, the Southern and the Northern, each with different characteristics, and the book in his hand now has a strong southern style, and he really can't imagine how it ended up in Japan. You are lying to me, this is not for cultivation at all. Lin Zion threw the book to Takaishi Shuichiro after reading it. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 174. How could this be? After hearing Lin Zion's words, Takaishi Shuichiro's heart almost stopped. He has been fighting for this all his life. Now you tell him that this is fake. If he hadn't experienced many ups and downs in his life, he would have died on the spot. Could it be that the most important thing is missing, so it looks fake? Takaishi Shuichiro didn't believe the reality given by Lin Zion, and wanted to struggle. I'm just playing this, I can see it at a glance. Lin Zion put an end to his thoughts on the spot. Maybe those people deceived you back then, they just found a book with a sense of age to perfunctory you. Yes. Takaishi Shuichiro suddenly collapsed on the ground as if his spine was pulled out. They didn't plan to give it to me at all, even this is fake. Why are you so obsessed with this? For the ancestors, Lin Zion poured tea and drank it himself, and he didn't feel like a guest at all. I want to enter that world, our family should not sink in the mortal world. Takaishi Shuichiro seemed to be going to die with hatred, and Lin Zion was really afraid that he would die suddenly. If you want this, why not just buy a cultivation method? This is not popular now. There must be a poor inheritor, and your family is so rich. Lin Zion understood his feelings. No one would refuse that power. Do you think I haven't thought about it? These people died in the Great Purge 20 years ago. Some people did not allow these things to circulate, and they had already recycled them, Gao Shixio said and suddenly laughed. It's funny to say that our family escaped the purge because of the broken inheritance. What is that Great Purge? Lin Zion noticed the word and was a little curious. I only heard about it at the time, but I didn't know it. It was a massacre. Those big forces didn't know why they fought, and then it was a mess. In fact, I have something you want in my hand. Will you sell it? Gao Shixio didn't really believe Lin Zion's words. This kind of thing is not cabbage that can be taken out at will. If the price is good, I'll sell it. It depends on what price you can offer. He couldn't release it in China, but Lin Zion didn't have 1 or 2 copies in his hand. He had at least 10 copies, all of which were obtained from Bingxian. As for the effect, it's hard to say. What does the gentleman want? Gao Shixiwichiro came over. He knew that Lin Zion had something to ask for. As long as there was a price, it would be easy to talk about. The only thing he was afraid of was that there was no room for negotiation. A dog, an obedient dog. As soon as Lin Zion finished speaking, Gao Shixiwichiro fell silent. He knew what Lin Zion meant, so he was silent. Originally, he planned to agree to whatever Lin Zion asked for and get the things first, but Lin Zion's request was contrary to his belief. He wanted to get the cultivation method so that the younger generation would not experience the same thing as him. He would bear the humiliation, but if he agreed to Lin Zion's request, it would be meaningless even if he got it. Now he suspected that Lin Zion said that his book was fake just to trick him. Do you think I'm lying to you? You haven't seen the real thing, this is normal. Lin Zion knew what he was thinking when he saw his arrogant look. You got it for so many years, you wouldn't have studied it. The whole book is about meridians and acupoints. In my hometown, 3 books cost 10 yuan, and they are more detailed than this. And what's the benefit of lying to you? There are many people who want to be dogs, and it doesn't have to be your family. Lin Zion said it directly, and I can help you get started. You don't think you can learn it after getting it, right? You may not be able to get started in your whole life without a guide. Although Gao Shuichiro has been in the business world for many years, he is a novice in this thing, and the thing he has been thinking about day and night is right in front of him. He was fooled by Lin Zion in just 2 or 3 sentences. I promise you. Gao Shuichiro thought again and again and decided to agree first, which was actually a gambling spirit. But now I don't agree. Lin Ziyan looked at him with a smile. Now it's not a question of whether Gao Shi Shuicairo agrees or not, but a question of whether he agrees or not. Then, what do you want, sir? Takaishi Shuicairo smiled bitterly. One wrong step leads to another. He lost as soon as he hesitated. Let me ask you something. Is the real eldest daughter of the Takaishi family my Takaishi? Sir, you have a good eye. Mai is indeed the real heir. Sure enough, Lin Ziyan should have thought of it a long time ago, but her acting is so good that he didn't dare to confirm it until just now. Because Mai Takaishi was completely trained as an heir, which is very different from the free-range Dozai Takaishi. What do you want, sir? Takaishi Shuicairo didn't know what Lin Ziyan wanted to do by asking this suddenly. Is he interested in Mai? Okay, I'll go to the back mountain first and talk about it when I come back. Lin Ziyan stood up and was about to leave. He knew everything he should know. Now he was still interested in the back mountain. Hey! Wait, Takaishi Shuicairo called him. Not now, we have to wait until night to enter. Why? I don't know, but they only go in at night, saying that it is easiest at that time. Is this the timing you mentioned? Unfortunately, I don't need timing. Lin Ziyan turned and walked out, saying, my arrival is the timing. Hearing Lin Ziyan's words, Takaishi Shuicairo stayed where he was and watched Lin Ziyan leave. Lin Ziyan's knowledge of Feng Shui is also half-baked, because he has not studied this aspect, and he just read it as a miscellaneous book at the beginning. This kind of thing is not just about writing down the things in the book. Many things are not written in the book. You need a master to lead the way, and you have to rely on your own practice. But after coming to Neon, you can't even see such statements, let alone professional books. Neon is mountainous and hilly, so there are many mountains, and no one can tell what is inside the mountains. Lin Ziyan is now standing in front of a small shrine. The base of the shrine is made of wood, and a stone the size of a human head and the shape of an egg is enshrined on it. There is a circle of red cloth around the stone. Lin Ziyan did not feel any power on it, which means that this shrine is just a decoration. This place is easy to find. There is a road leading to this place after leaving Gao Shi's ancestral home. It can be seen that people often walk this road, but they are definitely not outsiders, because the back mountain is the private land of the Gao Shi family and is fenced off. It can be seen that Gao Shi Shuicairo still misses this place. Lin Ziyan's destination was not here, but further inside. After walking a little further along the path, a crack that was only wide enough for one person to pass through appeared in front of him. Now this was where he wanted to go. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 175. Lin Ziyan knew that this matter was not that simple as soon as he saw the entrance. Because he heard a faint sound of water. Lin Ziyan crouched down and went into the cave entrance. He did not feel open and bright as he walked in. Instead, it became narrower and narrower, and the water vapor became heavier and heavier. Not long after, Lin Ziyan heard the sound of water flowing. An underground river, although not big, but the water flow was turbulent, and people who fell into it were almost dead, because they did not know if there were any stones in it. Even Lin Ziyan had to send Chihiro to explore the way. Not long after, Lin Ziyan came to a cave downstream of the underground river under the leadership of Chihiro. It was also thanks to the ancestors of the Gao Shi family that they could find this place. It was really amazing. After all, who would look for such a place for no reason? The cave was very strange, but this was obviously not the place that Gao Shi Shuicairo said, because there was a road in the cave. It could not be considered a road, but just a crack that could be passed by one person, and the crack was blowing wind into it. Lin Ziyan walked out along the crack and found that he was in a mountain, or more precisely, in a valley. He could see the sky when he looked up, and there were smooth stone walls all around, which looked more like man-made. Lin Ziyan took a deep breath, feeling the remaining breath in the air and determined that this was the destination. Looking around, Lin Zion couldn't help but sigh. No wonder Takaishi Shuichiro didn't dare to come, 2 of those people died. Are the Japanese so unrefined? Cut the grass but not the root. The reason why Lin Zion said this was because he found that this broken place was not the place where Takaishi Shuichiro said the ancestors tried the younger generation, but a simple killing place. There was not even a blade of grass here. It was bare as far as the eye could see, with only a hole dug out on the stone wall. Lin Zion walked over leisurely. Since he was here, of course he had to take a look before leaving, and he couldn't leave now, because something was staring at him. As soon as he entered, he saw 2 skeletons, which should be the last batch of people who came in. It looked like they were torn apart from the waist by something, and there were some debris scattered on the ground. Lin Zion checked it out and found nothing else, so he continued to go deeper. But unfortunately, there was nothing valuable until he reached the end, and a skeleton leaning against the wall caught his attention. The things on the skeleton had been stripped off, even the clothes were gone, but Lin Zion still saw that he was stabbed to death from the back. As he continued to walk in, there were more and more skeletons, and most of the causes of death were crushed by something, and some bones were broken into pieces, which showed how powerful it was. Lin Zion just leaned over to check the skeletons on the ground, and suddenly a gust of evil wind blew, and a crackling sound came from above his head. Before Lin Zion had time to look up, a pressure came from above his head. However, Lin Zion did not seem to be surprised by the appearance of this thing. Suddenly, a golden light rose from his body, which bounced the thing above his head away. Then he looked at the monster that suddenly appeared. Oh, it turned out to be a human-faced centipede. Let me see how many human faces it has. Lin Zion counted them on the spot. 1, 2, 3. The monster in front of him was called a human-faced centipede. Its head was hideous and terrifying, and its 2 palatal teeth were as thick as his arms. If it was pinched by it, the 2 withered skeletons at the door would be a good example. It was 5 or 6 meters long, with a flat body, and each section of its body had a distorted face. This thing was not born, but was artificially trained, but the method had long been lost, and the reason was that the process was too cruel and required a lot of life. According to legend, the human-faced centipede would devour the souls of the people it killed, because every time it killed a person, a human face would grow on its back, which was quite curious, and it was not a physical entity, but looking at its current state, it was already a physical entity, which meant that it had killed at least hundreds of people. After counting, Lin Zion also confirmed that there were 132 human faces, which meant that it had killed 132 people. After being ejected by Lin Zion, the human-faced centipede looked at Lin Zion vigilantly. In its simple mind, there was no such person, and Lin Zion gave it a very dangerous feeling. Humph. Fortunately, you have condensed into a physical entity and do not know how to change, otherwise this dark river really can't trap you. Lin Zion was thankful that this thing had no brains, otherwise the Japanese people would suffer if it went out. Didn't you see that so many people died here? Seeing that Lin Zion did not reveal any flaws, the human-faced centipede began to be unable to resist the drive of instinct and rushed towards Lin Zion. Seeing it coming, Lin Zion took a step forward, and a large amount of golden liquid-like energy poured out from Lin Zion, forming a golden wave, which almost instantly wrapped the rushing human-faced centipede. Of course, the human-faced centipede could not wait to die, and struggled inside, but it was not possible for it to break free from the giant net woven by Lin Zion. With only brute force, its fate was already doomed, and it was soon worn out and split into many residual souls. Lin Zion threw the jade seal he carried with him at the human-faced centipede, and the residual souls were collected in it as if they had encountered a vacuum cleaner. This time it seemed easy, but this was because the gap between Lin Zion and the human-faced centipede was too big. If you were to be crushed by Lin Zion directly with strength, you would die faster than anyone else. Moreover, Lin Xian felt that Bing Xian was much more threatening than it, because Bing Xian had a brain and had lived with humans for a period of time, while the human-faced centipede was just a fool who only knew brute force, so even if it was stronger than Bing Xian, it could hold out for a shorter time in his hands. Lin Xian walked inside while checking the memories of the residual souls. In the innermost part, Lin Xian found a low pit, in which was a yellow gourd that had fallen to the ground, and a mummy sitting cross-legged. The difference between this mummy and the others was that it was well preserved, with no obvious injuries, and it looked like it had died naturally. Lin Xian searched for a while, but found nothing. Then he picked up the gourd in the mummy's hand, shook it for a while, and there was no sound, indicating that it was empty. Lin Xian opened the lid, and a grey mist came out. Then the mist turned into a residual soul in the shape of an old man in front of Lin Xian. "Young man, thank you for saving me, I will fulfill one of your wishes. Are you the ancestor of the Gaoshi family? Have you been to China?" Lin Xian did not cooperate with him in playing the magic lamp game, but asked directly in Chinese. The residual soul heard Lin Xian's words and just wanted to escape, but was caught by Lin Xian. "It seems that you don't want to cooperate with me." Lin Xian reached out to catch him and beat him back to his original form. He only had time to say "spare my life," before Lin Xian suppressed him. Lin Xian had never thought of letting him go. Since he didn't take the initiative, Lin Xian had to take the initiative. Lin Xian immediately closed his eyes and began to check the origin of this residual soul. After a while, Lin Xian opened his eyes and smiled. "I didn't expect it to be another traitor. I have opened a new book, but this one will not affect the update. The new book is a Pokemon fanfiction. If you are interested, you can take a look. Adventurer in the Elf World. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 176. This man is called Gao Shi Shang'ai. He was originally a child of a fisherman. When he went out to sea, he encountered a storm and his small fishing boat was broken up by the waves in a few strokes. This man was also very lucky. He floated for 3 days holding a piece of wood and was finally rescued. Because of the language barrier, he was sent to a Taoist temple in the mountains by the locals. Finally, the master of the temple took him in, and he stayed to help the master. He stayed in China for 4 years and learned Chinese. Then one time, he stole things in the temple while the master was out, disguised the scene as a robbery invasion, and then fled back to Neon. He stole 2 things. One was the Southern School cultivation method that Lin Xian saw from Gao Shixiu Yilang, and the other was this yellow gourd. Most of the Southern School are good at refining elixirs, and this gourd is used to hold elixirs. Gao Shi Shang'ai was able to make it in Neon largely because of this pot of elixirs, but he was useless after the elixirs were used up. If he had stolen the cultivation method of an ordinary person, it would be fine. Even without the support of elixirs, he could still achieve certain achievements as long as he worked hard, but he took the Taoist method. Taoism emphasizes tranquility and inaction. With his mentality, he would not achieve anything at all. Moreover, he was afraid that people from the other side would come to find him every day. How could he make any progress if his mind was unstable? His magic power was all built up by elixirs. As he got older, he could not maintain his own magic power without elixirs, so he wanted to follow the routine of Neon, and he could be worry-free as long as he controlled a shikigami. He specially found the method of making the human-faced centipede, wanting to make a more powerful shikigami. Originally, with his power in Neon at that time, he had the ability to secretly kill 100 or 200 ordinary people, but he was too greedy. Not only did he kill 100 ordinary people, he even wanted to use cultivators to refine it. He designed to attract a group of onmyoji, and here he released the human-faced centipede. With the cooperation of the inside and outside, the 30 onmyoji were all dead without much resistance. He was full of joy to welcome his shikigami, but would the human-faced centipede, which had been fed with so many high-quality souls, still listen to him? The answer was obvious. He died under the backlash, but he still saved his soul with the magic of the gourd, and wanted to wait for someone to rescue him. Someone did come, but it was Lin Zion, who was not here to rescue him, but to send him to where he should go. It seemed that the person who came in last time really took away a lot of things. Lin Zion walked out again, disdaining the rags on the ground. They must have had some way to hide from the human-faced centipede when they came in at night last time, but they were startled when they were searching for Gao Shi Shang-ai, and then 2 of them died. The biggest gain this time was not the yellow-skinned gourd, but Gao Shi Shang-ai's soul. There are many things worth studying in his memory, but that's all for later, and now he has to go back. It is impossible to return by the same route, and Gao Shi Shang-ai didn't come by that road back then. Lin Zion climbed out of the valley easily, and after identifying the direction, he started walking. Soon, a cloud of dust rose from the forest. It was very fast to walk from the dark river, but it took a long detour outside. Lin Zion didn't return to Gao Shi's ancestral home until the evening. "Open the door," Lin Zion shouted, and soon the old lady opened the door. "You are..." The old lady didn't know what to say when she saw Lin Zion like this. He was holding a yellow gourd in his hand, dusty, and his clothes were cut open, but this was not the point was what was under his crotch. A big wild boar, at least 400 or 500 pounds, panting with a ferocious face. "Don't be afraid, go get some leftovers." Lin Zion patted the wild boar under his crotch. "Humph." "Yes." The old lady ran back in a panic, and soon came out with a bowl full of rice. Lin Zion got off the horse. "No, it was the pig. He will leave after he finishes eating. You don't have to worry about it." "Yes." The aunt nodded. How could she care? Now she didn't even dare to go out. After Lin Zion went in, the ant and the wild boar were left staring at each other. Gao Shixiwichiro was still sitting in the hall. Lin Zion looked at him as if he had been sitting there all day. "You lied to me again." Lin Zion sat opposite him and picked up the teapot to pour water, but found that it had already cooled down. Gao Shixiwichiro did not answer Lin Zion's words, but instead focused his eyes on the yellow gourd. "Is this what the ancestors left behind?" "This has nothing to do with your ancestors." Lin Zion sneered. "You think too much. No wonder your inheritance was broken." Gao Shishang had kept it a secret from others when he did that thing. He probably didn't even trust his own relatives. He didn't leave any inheritance. He died unexpectedly, and the inheritance was broken. As for the idea of the trial ground, Lin Zion felt that it was inferred by his descendants based on the information he left behind, or it was a trap deliberately left by Gao Shishang. He may have thought that there might be problems, so he left a way out and wanted his descendants to save him. But this is not a problem. After all, Gao Shishang is also in his hands, even if the residual soul is broken. I don't know what he thought of. Gao Shishuakairo burst into tears, attracting several servants to come and watch, but they didn't dare to come in. "Grandpa, what's wrong?" Gao Shimei walked in and knelt beside Gao Shishuakairo and asked. "My hope is gone, my wish in this life." Gao Shishuakairo was like crazy, pulling his hair with both hands. "Don't do this, Grandpa, don't do this." Takaishimai grabbed his hand and tried to let him go. "Okay, stop acting in front of me." Lin Zion shook his hand boredly. "Just say whatever you want, I'm going home." "I agree to the condition, sir, I agree." Takaishi Shuakairo crawled over and grabbed Lin Zion's trouser legs. "You may not be as obedient as the pig outside, but at least the pig won't go west if you tell it to go east." Lin Zion pointed outside and said. "What do you want, sir?" Takaishi Shuakairo shouted hysterically. "Okay, seeing you like this, I'll give you another chance. Lin Ziyan broke his hand open. Go get some paper and pen. Yes. Takaishi Mai rushed out before Takaishi Shuichiro could react. Sure, smart. Lin Ziyan smiled at Takaishi Mai's background. After getting paper and pen, Lin Ziyan wrote a medium-level method and handed it to Takaishi Shuichiro. Here, this is what you want. This. Takaishi Shuichiro carefully held the papers, as if he was on a pilgrimage, and was so excited that he couldn't speak. Takaishi Mai didn't know what this was, and frowned slightly. Tell her to come to my room tonight. I'm going to take a shower now. Lin Ziyan pointed at Takaishi Mai and went out. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 177. I had a great time racing just now, and my clothes were scratched in several places, and I was also stained with a lot of dust. After a tiring day, it's time to take a hot bath and then have a good night's sleep. After taking a shower, he put on the clothes prepared by the Jace family and led Lin Ziyan to a place alone. Shuichiro Jace was already waiting for him with a smile. What are you eating tonight? Lin Ziyan walked in and found a place to sit down. You have everything you want, and I will definitely satisfy you. Forget it, just be casual. It's been a tiring day today. I still have something to do after dinner. Lin Ziyan didn't ask too much. Yes, Shuichiro Takaishi responded repeatedly, turned around and went out to make arrangements. Lin Ziyan discovered that he was quite good at being a dog licker. Lin Ziyan was lying on the tatami in the room playing with his mobile phone. He only had this here, so Lin Ziyan had to make do with it. It was the same to him anyway. But the most uncomfortable thing for him here is that there is no electricity, so the electrical appliances cannot be used. The rooms are lit with candles. He has to use a power bank to charge his mobile phone, which is really unaccustomed to a modern person. It can only be said that rich people have strange hobbies. At about 9 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. Master, Mai is here. Come in. Lin Ziyan put down his phone and rarely sat up. After all, he had one thing to complete, so it was okay to be serious. Yes. Gao Shimei opened the door and came in. Lin Ziyan smelled a fragrance as soon as she came in. She must have just taken a shower. Come here, sit here. Lin Ziyan pointed to the seat in front of him. Gao Shimei walked over carefully and sat down opposite Lin Ziyan. Lin Ziyan found that she seemed to be wearing pajamas, but it did not affect what happened next. Did your grandpa tell you what happened next? Gao Shimei's voice was like a mosquito or a fly, and she replied coyly. That's fine. I don't need to say it again. Let's start now. Lin Ziyan couldn't wait. He hadn't tried it for a long time, and it was rare to play it today. Lin Ziyan stood up and put his hand on Gao Shimei's Tianling cap. Now do as I say, close your eyes, hug you and Xiaoyi, just concentrate, don't think randomly, and don't move around. What Lin Ziyan needs to do now is initiation. He hasn't done this trick for a long time, so it should be fine. Because he couldn't mess with Mai Takaishi, Lin Ziyan was very careful and took half an hour to complete. He packaged some common sense in the neon cultivation world and the cultivation methods given today into her mind, so that he didn't have to teach her slowly. The next step is the key to getting started. I have prepared the props for you. Lin Ziyan took out the jade seal and found the remnant soul of Gao Shishang'ai from it. This thing has been washed by Lin Ziyan and there is no problem. Lin Ziyan thought in a wicked way, I wonder what Gao Shimei would think if she knew that the props she used to practice were her ancestors. But I'm such a good person for letting them reunite after such a long time. Especially when I think about Mai Takaishi using the souls of her ancestors to fight with others in the future, I feel very moved when I think about it. She is really a filial daughter. Takaishi Mai was stunned for a while before she returned to normal. Her brain was just processing the large amount of information that Lin Ziyan fed her. After reacting, she set her sights on the remnant soul of Gao Shishangyi. Lin Zian spent a long time exploring with her before she initially mastered the ability to control Gao Shi Changji. There was still some way to go before she could fully control him, but this had nothing to do with him. He was just the one who got started, and the rest was their own business. Okay, let me remind you again, power is not to be used indiscriminately. If you can't control your own emotions and desires, you can't control others. At your level, you may not be able to survive outside for another 30 years of training. Lin Zian, he waved his hand to persuade Takahashi Mai to leave. Okay, I've taught you everything that needs to be taught. I'm tired, let's go down. Yes, master. Gao Shimei was about to get up, but was stopped by Lin Zian. I'm not your master, and you're not my apprentice. This is just a transaction. Don't do things in my name, otherwise, you know the consequences yourself, and you can naturally take back what I can give you, Lin Zian said. Worry about those inexplicable relationships, which will cause him trouble. Yes, Takahashi Mai felt a little aggrieved. She was scolded even though she had done nothing. She just thought that Lin Zian taught her these things and it was appropriate to call Lin Zian a master. There was no other meaning at all. After Gao Shimai left, Lin Zian stayed alone in the room, and the flickering candlelight shone on his face, which looked particularly strange. Apprentice, huh? Lin Zian raised his head and looked at the roof, not knowing what he was thinking. Lin Zian woke up early in the morning. He had to go home. He could just miss school for a day or two. He couldn't go too far. Shuichiro Takahashi originally wanted to arrange a car to take Lin Zian back, but Lin Zian refused. He wanted to take a walk when he came here. I originally wanted to buy some local snacks to go back and fool Odarena, but unfortunately I didn't. However, he visited some of the more famous local places, especially some museums, such as the Kimono Museum, the Comb and Hairpin Museum, and saw a lot of neon kimonos from various eras, which was quite interesting. Think of coming here as a trip to relax. There are a lot of things going on these days, even for a lazy person like him. Anyway, it's not a loss if you come to Ohm City and see these things. At least you can still leave your own footprints in this place, even if it disappears in an instant. Lin Zian could only take the subway back by himself. Fortunately, there were not many people at this time. The whole carriage was empty, with only a few people. This time, he finally didn't have to squeeze the toothpaste. Lin Zian got off the train at any station in Tokyo. Seeing that it was still early, he started to walk around. He didn't buy anything, just walked around. Tokyo is not prosperous everywhere. Some places are also very ordinary, but in comparison, the fireworks are not so heavy. Those treasures hidden in the corners are waiting for him to dig. A little tired from walking around, Lin Zian just walked into a roadside ramen shop, ordered a bowl of pork bone ramen and sat down. It's not mealtime now, and this is not a popular online shop. There are only the boss and Lin Zian. There are no people on the street. It's obviously afternoon, but it feels like dusk. In the small shop, Lin Zian ate noodles while chatting with the boss about family matters, enjoying the afternoon sun and a moment of tranquility. This kind of life is his retirement life. Unfortunately, reality always drives you forward. Boss, I'm leaving first. Lin Zian said goodbye to the uncle in the ramen shop and continued walking. He was leisurely, just like a salted fish that has not yet landed. The new book will not affect the update of this one, please rest assured. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 178. I'm back. Lin Zian originally wanted to get home before dinner, but he wasted some time, so he simply ate outside before coming back. After Lin Zian entered the house, he found that no one was at home and the lights were not on. Where did he go? Lin Zian thought about it and didn't pay much attention. He was a living person, it was normal for him to go out. He had to do business now, so he went to the basement to put the yellow gourd away, and threw the jade seal to Kinksun to deal with it. She didn't go out to find food during this period, so now just feed her. These 100 or so are enough for her to eat for a while. As soon as he came out of the basement, Lin Ziyan collapsed on the sofa. He is really not suitable for going out to hang out. It's not that he is physically tired, but that he is mentally tired. There are few things in this world that can interest him, so he looks like he has nothing to do all day. A standard New Age otaku, he has no curiosity about anything, and just wants to eat and wait for death. The difference between Lin Ziyan and them is that he doesn't have to worry about life. In the past, he would definitely be criticized at home for being like this, but no one can say anything to him here. The sound of the door lock turning. Lin Ziyan looked up at the door and saw someone rushing in. I said it was Unai-chan who came back after rushing in. Odarina pounced on Lin Ziyan and piled on him. What are you doing? Get down quickly. You are very heavy, you know. Where am I heavy? Odarina got up and rode on Lin Ziyan. Uyaoi, I am obviously losing weight, okay. I was originally small. Lin Ziyan turned over and pushed Odarina aside. If you lose more, you will be gone. Did Unai-chan bring anything for Rina? Odarina kept rubbing Lin Ziyan and holding his hand. I'm going to work, do you think I'm going to play? How can I have time to buy things for you? I'm exhausted after 2 days of hard work. Work? Yes, otherwise where would I get the money to keep you fat and white? Lin Ziyan twisted his neck. Where did Reina go just now? Odarina was slightly absent-minded. She had thought that Lin Ziyan's money was given by his parents, but she didn't expect that he actually earned it himself. Reina, Lin Ziyan called again when she didn't respond. Ah, Odarina reacted and said with a smile, I just went to the supermarket with my mother, and the oil at home is gone. What kind of work did Unai-chan go to? Odarina asked curiously. Why are you asking this? Lin Ziyan looked at her, not knowing what she wanted to do. Okay Reina, don't bother Kingtian-kun, he's already very tired. Oda Michiko came out of the kitchen after putting things away. She also heard the conversation between the two just now. Oh, Odarina let go of Lin Ziyan's hand with a reluctant look on her face. It's okay. It's normal for Reina to be curious. Let me tell you something. Lin Ziyan pulled Reina back and held her in place. Have you heard of tomb robbing? What? Oda Michiko looked puzzled. She had never heard of this word. What is this for? Is it my job to do tomb robbing? No, it has nothing to do with tomb robbing. Lin Ziyan shook his head. I'm going to move the ancestral tomb with others this time. What? ×2. Both Oda and her daughter didn't understand what Lin Ziyan was talking about. They didn't understand why they talked about tomb robbing first when their job was to move the tomb. You don't understand this, so let me tell you slowly. Lin Ziyan strung together domestic tomb robbing novels and feng shui novels and made up a short story. Both of them were attracted by Lin Ziyan's story. The story he made up revolved around the Gaoshi family's ancestral tomb. One team came to rob the tomb, and the other team came to guard the tomb. He himself was invited to move the tomb. The characters in it all had prototypes. After being simply processed by him, they were no worse than domestic tomb robbing novels. Lin Ziyan's storytelling skills are naturally needless to say. The ups and downs of the plot seemed to glow with a different charm in his mouth. The heartbeats of the two people also changed with the rise and fall of his tone. When Lin Ziyan finished speaking, Oda's mother and daughter found that they were sweating coldly. Is it so dangerous? The fear on Oda Michiko's face has not faded yet. Her slightly pale face has a morbid beauty under the light. Yes, yes. Fortunately, Unai-chan just went to point the way, but she encountered a big wild boar. Odarina was still afraid, and she pinched Lin Ziyan's hand until it turned white. Lin Ziyan was just joking with them. There was no gods or ghosts in the story. It was just a simple story. He weakened his existence and treated himself as an ordinary high school student who was powerless. The whole story was a struggle between the two factions. He didn't appear much, only in the middle and late stages, so he didn't scare them. "It's okay, I'm back now." Lindsay Ian patted Oda Reina's hand, asking her to let him go, and then took out the clothes in the bag. "I still lost a set of clothes?" "Let me see." Oda Michiko was snatched away by Reina before she could do anything. The clothes inside were taken out, and there were indeed a few traces of damage and some stains. Most of the damage was on the front, and there was almost no damage on the back. The whole clothes were dirty and torn. After looking at it, Reina threw the clothes away and groped Lindsay Ian. "Are you injured, and does it hurt?" Lindsay Ian thought it was nothing at first, and was a little proud of the little story he made up to deceive them, when he found that Oda Reina was crying. Hey, what's wrong with Reina?" Lindsay Ian held her with both hands and asked. "Oni-chan, please don't go there anymore, I'm so scared," Oda Reina said with tears in her voice, lying on Lindsay Ian's chest. Lindsay Ian could feel Reina's hand on him trembling slightly. "Reina, don't be afraid. What I said just now was all false. I lied to you," Lindsay Ian said with a wry smile. "You lied to me. Where's that dress?" Oda Reina looked up at Lindsay Ian, her eyes flashing with tears. "Reina is right. Kingtian-kun should not do this kind of thing anymore. It's too dangerous." Oda Michiko couldn't cry on Lindsay Ian like Reina. She was already an adult and had her own responsibilities. "I'm idle at home anyway, I'll go out and look for a job tomorrow. Don't worry Kingtian-kun, I won't delay family matters." "I really didn't lie to you, what I just said was all false." Lindsay Ian didn't expect that this could be a reversal. "I can explain the dress." Oda Michiko looked at Lindsay Ian suspiciously. She didn't believe that what Lindsay Ian just said was false, because it was too real. She felt like she was there. People who hadn't experienced it couldn't describe it in such detail. Am I out? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 179. My job is to accompany those rich people to eat, drink and have fun. There is no danger. Lindsay Ian picked up the clothes. "I got it when I accompanied those people to climb the mountain." Why did it become so rotten when climbing the mountain? Oda Reina obviously didn't want to let Lindsay Ian go. This explanation is more convincing. Lindsay Ian gently pushed Reina away, stood up, and took off his shirt. "Look, I'm fine." At that time, the golden light protected his body, let alone the branches. Even if the blue fire Gatling gun hit him, it would be fine. Oda Reina also stood up and looked at Lindsay Ian's body. As soon as her hand touched it, she suddenly retracted it as if she was electrocuted. Lindsay Ian's figure is not as exaggerated as those bodybuilders, but the kind that looks thin when dressed and has flesh when undressed. There is no extra muscle on his body, and his streamlined body is like a work of art. Refer to Bruce Lee. Lindsay Ian is usually very careful at home, and he will not come out shirtless after taking a bath, so this is the first time that Oda mother and daughter have seen it. "Okay, we believe you, you put it on first." It was the first time that Michiko Oda felt the impact of the human body. She forced herself to look away several times, but in the end, she would always look at him, and her face flushed unconsciously. Michiko Oda was like this, and Reina was even more exaggerated, staring at Lindsay Ian, which made him a little embarrassed. Lindsay Ian put on his clothes and sat back on the sofa. He didn't know what the Oda mother and daughter thought, but he was very tired anyway. Another day. Today was a little different because there was a sports class, but the content of the sports class was changed from the previous tennis class to baseball class. Japanese people still attach great importance to baseball, but in Lindsay Ian's view, sports class is a slacking class. Anyway, the teacher himself finds a place to sit and wait for the get out of class to end, and the students come to play by themselves. As long as nothing happens, he won't care about you. As soon as the class was over, everyone rushed out. When Linzian was still curious about what these silly classmates thought today, Ryo Hosokawa ran over. "Where did Qingtian go these 2 days?" "Oh, I just went out to play after the last lesson." Linzian dared not be naughty anymore. "Then let's meet later." "I'm going down first." Hosokawa Ryo waved to Linzian and left. Linzian didn't understand what she was thinking, but he got up and prepared to go down. Linzian didn't plan to play baseball, so he didn't bring any baseball equipment, which meant he didn't need to go to the locker room and went directly to the baseball field. However, Linzian found a problem while walking on the road. Why did both men and women go directly to the baseball field? Aren't they divided into classes? Linzian met Yotsuki Hideki on the road and hurried over to talk to him. "Hideki, what's going on? Why did both men and women go to the baseball field together? Are the girls also taking baseball classes?" "I'm not a girl, how do I know what classes girls take?" Yotsuki Hideki rolled his eyes at Linzian, "but I know what you said." "Just say it, why keep it a secret?" Linzian complained. "You didn't come these 2 days, but our class and your class have agreed to play a match today." Yotsuki Hideki ignored Linzian's complaints and said slowly, "By the way, where have you been these 2 days? I thought you wouldn't come today either." "I went out for some business, but now we are talking about business. Why do we suddenly have a class match? Those of us who slack off in sports class don't feel anything. In fact, our two classes have been fighting for the field, and today it's baseball class, so of course we have to play a match first." Speaking of which, Yotsuki Hideki was still led astray by Linzian. He originally wanted to form a team to play basketball with Linzian, but he didn't expect to be dragged into the water by Linzian. Oh, Linzian didn't care too much. In his opinion, this kind of thing is just looking for trouble. Tennis is easy to say, the tools are only rackets and balls, but baseball requires a complete set. If you don't really like it, who would bring a set of equipment to school for no reason? Maybe the two classes can't even get a team of people for the game, let alone a class match. Linzian looked at the people in his class and really didn't think they could play. Class E was no better than the others. In Linzian's opinion, the advantage of taking baseball classes was that they were close to the convenience store, so he could go there to sell things during class. Speaking of this convenience store, it was quite interesting. It was managed and operated by the student union, and the profits were used to maintain the student union. You know, the student union not only had to operate itself, but also had to face other clubs applying for activity funds, and the money came from here. The money for any big activities the school wanted to organize was also paid from here. In fact, it was equivalent to students paying for themselves. Linzian thought the setting was quite interesting. The school gave profits to students and provided jobs for some students. Running a small convenience store was still a training for students, at least it was required not to lose money. In addition, the profits of the convenience store were public, and the prices of the goods inside were also jointly set by the school and the student union. Linzian didn't know the details. Finally, there was the natural enemy of the student union, the discipline committee, who did the final supervision. In fact, to be honest, most of the people in this school do not lack this little money. Their monthly pocket money is more than this, and many people regard managing the convenience store as an asset. For those who want to compete for student union positions, they will not burn their own bridges. If this is done well, the student union will have money and sufficient funds, so there will be more activities, and the students will benefit in the end. Another interesting thing is that the funds for the discipline committee are also approved by the student union, but the student union never dares not to approve or drag it out. I won't go into details about some of the problems, everyone understands. Anyway, the two love and hate each other, both have the power to supervise each other, and they will beat each other to death when they have the chance, but everyone is still quite harmonious on the surface. The school's facilities are extremely complete and can be used as a real competition venue. When Lin Zion and Yotsuki Hideki arrived at the baseball field, some people were already sitting in the surrounding audience seats. The two quickly found a good seat and sat down, and then Yotsuki Hideki ran to buy drinks. "Qingtian, what do you want?" "Mineral water is enough." "Don't drink so many beverages. I see you've gained weight recently." "No way. I only drink 1 bottle a day." "Okay, when your sister catches you to lose weight, don't say I didn't remind you." Lin Zion didn't care. Anyway, he said what he should say. Whether he listens or not is up to Yotsuki Hideki. "No more. If you say more, you can't get out." Yotsuki Hideki saw some people coming up and hurried down. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 180. Qingtian, help me get some Hosokawa. Ryo sat next to Lin Zion with a bunch of snacks and put most of the snacks on Lin Zion. "Hey. What are you doing? This is not a snack party for watching a game." Lin Zion took her things with a wry smile. "I don't know, I bought so many while buying Hosokawa." Ryo was a little embarrassed, and to cover up, she opened a bag of snacks on the spot. "Qingtian, come and try it." "Okay." Lin Zion was not polite and reached out to take it. "What are you eating? Is there any for me?" Yotsuki Hideki came back and saw that the two were eating so happily, and asked with a smile. "No for you, you should just drink water honestly." Lin Zion took the water from him and scolded with a smile. "Tisk tisk tisk, you two treat my friend like this? I'm so heartbroken." Yotsuki Hideki covered his chest and made a very uncomfortable look. "Okay, stop pretending, take what you want, Ryo is much more generous than me." "Really? Hosokawa?" Yotsuki Hideki smiled and moved closer. "Yeah." Hosokawa. Ryo nodded. "Yotsuki, just take it, I still have a lot." "Don't tease her, sit back in your seat." Lin Zion threw a bag of snacks to him casually. "Oh, our Qingtian classmate's masculinity is really off the charts." Yotsuki Hideki took the snacks thrown to him by Lin Zion and returned to his seat happily. Hosokawa. Ryo secretly glanced at Lin Zion and found that he was not very resistant to Yotsuki Hideki's words, and was secretly happy. How could she know that Lin Zion and Yotsuki Hideki often talked about some messy things, so he really didn't react to the sentence. "Even if there is food, you can't stop your mouth." Lin Zion glanced at Yotsuki Hideki. Doesn't he know the great strength of Hosokawa. Ryo? Just with Yotsuki Hideki's small body, if he angers Hosokawa. Ryo, one punch will be enough to make him cry for a long time. Unfortunately, neither of them knows Lin Zion's good intentions. There are not many people in the two classes, only about 60 or 70 people. When they came in together just now, they looked many, but now they are scattered in the audience. After a while, two neatly dressed teams, a total of 18 people, appeared on the court. The two teams were led by Akamori Hiroichi and Kia Hisakatsuhiko respectively. Among them, Akamori Hiroichi wore a baseball uniform with short sleeves and long pants, and a white baseball cap. When he came to the court, he took off his cap and waved to the audience. The name and screams of Akamori Hiroichi suddenly rang out in the audience. The enthusiasm was ignited at once, and the shouts began to become messy, with various names and voices mixed in. "This Akamori Hiroichi from your class is still so eye-catching," Lin Zion said while eating. "What? Are you envious? He receives love letters every day." "Don't even think about it," Yotsuki Hideki teased. "I can't say I'm envious. I'm past the age of showing off. This kind of thing doesn't attract me." Lin Zion was very calm and even wanted to laugh. "Besides, love letters are too troublesome. Even if you receive them, they are useless. I guess Akamori boy may not have even read one." He clearly stated that he would not open any of them. Yotsuki Hideki looked at Lin Zion curiously. I only know this because I'm in the same class with him. How did you know? Think about it and you'll know. People like him have to maintain their image. Once they open a letter, trouble will come. Lin Zion looked at Yotsuki Hideki's silly look with contempt. Hey, don't talk so old-fashioned, okay? You're only 16 years old. Physiological age and psychological age are different. At first I thought you were a very shy person, but I didn't expect you to be such a person. The game has begun. Hosokawa Ryo next to him reminded the two people who were chatting. Lin Zion looked at the field. Class E was now on defense, while Chiu Xiaobo was the pitcher and the referee was the teacher. Lin Zion had not studied the rules of baseball, so he was just here to watch the fun. Besides, who won or lost didn't matter to him, and he didn't play baseball. After watching for a while, Lin Zion felt a little bored. He thought Chiu Xiaobo would do something cool at first, but he didn't expect it to be a fight between novices. But the number of people on the field was not reduced, but increased. Some people from other classes came to see after hearing about it. Besides, school would be over soon, so time was not a problem. Can I drink your water, Qingtian? Hosokawa Ryo looked at the water in Lin Zion's hand and swallowed unconsciously. She had been eating snacks just now, and now she was thirsty and realized that she had forgotten to buy water. Now she was getting thirstier and thirstier. She was eyeing Lin Zion's water. Well, it's a good thing it's not open. Take it. Lin Zion only ate a little at the beginning and didn't feel thirsty. Damn. Qingtian didn't drink it? I should have been patient. Hosokawa Ryo took the water, his face full of regret. Hideki, how long will it take? Lin Zion wanted to leave. He had no interest in these things. He came to school to study, not to watch baseball games. It depends on the situation. It's still early. Generally, baseball games take 2 or 3 hours at the fastest, and at least 5 or 6 hours at the slowest. I'll leave first. Lin Zion got up and left without saying a word. It's better to go home and lie on the sofa and play with your phone than to bask in the sun here. Hey. Qingtian classmate, wait for me. Hosokawa Ryo also followed out. She had gone there for Lin Zion, and now that Lin Zion was gone, she would follow him. The two of them were walking on the way back to the classroom. Qingtian, there's a new dessert shop near the school. Let's go eat ice cream later. Hosokawa Ryo tentatively asked. Dessert shop? Lin Zion knew that there were many such shops near the school, which were often opened and closed, and he didn't know if they could make money. But this reminded him of the last time they went there and were disturbed by Gongzong Liwi. Originally, Lin Zion had specially found a more famous shop far away from the school, but he didn't expect. There was no problem in treating her to a meal. After all, he had eaten there several times, and he couldn't stand it no matter how thick his skin was. And it seemed that he had promised her to make up for it last time. Okay, Lin Zion took out his mobile phone and checked the time, but school is about to end, let's wait for Reina to go together. No, Hosokawa Ryo shouted. Why? Lin Zion looked at her in confusion. Could it be that the conflict between the two has not been resolved yet? What I just said was said without thinking, but Hosokawa Ryo does not regret it. If she goes with Oda Reina, she will definitely make trouble. So what is the reason? Hosokawa Ryo, use your detective brain to find a solution.